Hello, my dear viewers. I'm Olga Demchuk, a researcher of the inner world of personality. Today, I would like to talk with you about how to be together without scandals. First of all, I want to say that many people are not ready to give up scandals. Let us try to understand why. During a scandal, a person finally stops pretending to be someone else, stops enduring things, lets themselves go, and this becomes their moment of glory. It is the moment of glory for the beast within, which is no longer restrained by compassion or any obligations. We are afraid of losing relationships, and we are afraid to talk about what we do not like. When we remain silent and endure, we are not taking care of the other person. We are actually taking care of ourselves because we might be abandoned, we might feel ashamed, or we might not be able to forgive ourselves later. And so it seems as if two opposites arise, that is, either to have a scandal or to remain silent. But if we stay silent, a scandal will still happen eventually, because patience will run out. It is as if a person needs to accumulate enough anger in order to grant themselves the internal permission to let it all out. So how do scandals arise? I will step away from the topic for a moment so that I can return to these scandals later. Let's imagine you need a pair of scissors. For example, you need to cut a tag off your clothing and you know where the scissors are kept. There is a specific drawer or a shelf. You open the door and see that the scissors are not there. Where they are supposed to be, there are no scissors. What happens in the mind at that moment? If we could pause and break down what is happening in those moments, we would observe the following. That is, there is me without the scissors, but I am the one who needs those scissors. And I imagine how I will take these scissors and do what I need to do. In other words, I am, as it were, creating a phantom of myself in the future who fulfills the need that has arisen in me. And at the moment when I discover the absence of the scissors, there is a kind of break in this storyline that I have constructed. Well, scissors are a simple example. It will be easier for us to use it, but you can probably already recall from memory those moments when this break, this fiasco, happened for a more significant reason. Someone promised, but didn't follow through. You were waiting, but they didn't come. You had already planned to do something together, but the other person couldn't make it. So here, you can take any fiasco, any break in the storyline, but let's focus on the scissors for now. Later, you can practice with other examples, because with scissors there are fewer emotions, less additional meaning, and it will be easier for us to grasp the essence. So I am the one in need of scissors. I am the one who does not have the opportunity to possess what I desire. When a person can't get what they want, the same thing always happens. That's the not getting my way moment. They fall into a frozen state of balance. When things don't go their way, they constantly fall down into that very sense of inadequacy, incapacity, powerlessness, the impossibility of obtaining what they desire. In other words, what I want, I do not get. In this collapse, in this sense of inadequacy, a person finds themselves in their own vulnerability. So if I discover that the scissors are missing, and at that moment I fall into this state, I will still fall into a sense of inadequacy. I quickly figure it out. Oh, more scissors, I'll use them. Or I'll cut it off with a knife. That is, if I do not follow my emotions, then I remain in my sense of inadequacy and incapacity only briefly. If someone promised me something but was unable to deliver, then I, by coming up with a way out for myself and returning to a sense of capability, do not fall deeper and deeper into my own inadequacy and therefore into emotional turmoil. Let's imagine, for example, when you are in a hurry or you are feeling very tired or you are extremely hungry. it becomes even more difficult to manage your emotions because fatigue, lack of sleep, and hunger already make us feel incapable. We are already experiencing the dissatisfaction of a certain need. And then additional dissatisfaction creates tension that we can no longer contain. There are no scissors. Incompetence. If I cannot endure it, if I cannot withstand it, or if I am not thinking quickly enough to come up with an alternative solution, then inevitably I will start looking for someone to blame. And the search for someone to blame immediately compensates for my sense of incompetence. Once again, it's him who didn't put the scissors back in place, or her. It doesn't matter whether it's a parent, a spouse, or a roommate with whom we share our living space. The first thought that comes to mind is, it was him or her who put it in the wrong place. Why is that? Because in this way, a person protects themselves from self-aggression, so as not to torment themselves. For people who are so fixated on themselves that there isn't even another yet, they will always blame themselves. In other words, they will turn on themselves. It is a habit of compensating for one's own inadequacy through aggression, through self-assertion. Doesn't matter at your expense or someone else's. Anger instantly gives us a chance to feel better about ourselves. We have failed, and through this, we rise up. And now, I need to once again move toward this second person, who, as I see it, is the one who, as I believe, did not return the scissors to their original place. If I approach him while having already compensated for my own sense of inadequacy, and am deeply charged with this intense feeling, then the words that come from me will inevitably be filled with anger, even if I appear to be patient and calm at that particular moment. Again, I can't find the scissors where they are usually kept. The other person, he doesn't say it right away. First, he feels attacked, and that attack is definitely there. They say, "What's this attack again?" "I'm calmly asking you," the person says. He seems to be asking calmly, but the anger that fills him is still present. This is a common misconception among many people. They believe that if they are angry inside but do not make a scene outwardly, then they are not being aggressive. What interests us are the actual facts, not how a person has learned to pretend, although sometimes pretending is necessary, when you cannot manage your emotions and need to restrain them in a basic way. But what is actually happening? Or perhaps I remain silent and do not voice my complaint. I endure it, and endurance is always connected to arrogance. Once again, that fool put the scissors in the wrong place. So, you see, am I angry, or am I being arrogantly hostile or arrogantly contemptuous? At a high level of generalization, this distinction is not particularly important to us either. What matters to us is to understand the moment when we lose our own sense of value, when we fall into feelings of inferiority or inadequacy. And this primitive, animalistic way of elevating ourselves through arrogance toward another person, when we look down on them for being foolish or for being wrong. For example, "Oh, these artists are so abnormal." If a person is creative, we try to rise above others through contempt or through anger, but in any case, it becomes a scandalous situation. Remember, I promised to come back to the topic of scandals? Well, here we are. This is exactly where we have arrived. That is, when two people are together, it always involves the fact that one person has certain needs and a particular worldview, while the other has different needs and a different worldview. And here, it is always necessary to negotiate and cooperate in the relationship. And it is difficult not to consider yourself to be right. The presence of another person, on the one hand, seems to make our life easier because it becomes clear who is to blame, but on the other hand, it makes our life more difficult because the emotions become more intense. I don't think so, it's getting bigger. It is enough for a person to simply sit silently next to us, and their presence already creates a lack of dominance in this space that I occupy. I already have to share this territory with them, even if they remain silent. It's like, imagine you are riding a bus, an airplane, or the subway, and someone sits down next to you. He is silent and does nothing, but his mere presence is enough. Yes, he breathes loudly or blinks his eyelashes noisily, for example. So a conflict, when people ask, what should I have done in this or that situation? What should I have said? What should I have done? When they ask this question, they are only interested in the external action, but they do not ask about themselves. Until I find balance within myself, I will either be arrogantly contemptuous or arrogantly angry. In other words, trying to resolve a conflict without first putting things in order inside yourself is a guaranteed way to create a scandal. And as I said, scandals are sweet. Someone might say, I don't want to give up scandals at all. Of course, to be deprived of the opportunity to finally say everything with complete impunity. A shining moment. But let's imagine that you are tired of scandals. This video is definitely not for those who enjoy quarreling. You are tired of scandals. You would like there to be peace in your relationships. You would like to handle conflict situations diplomatically. You see how important it is for us to understand what state we are in. Say, we're getting ready for the theater. He's stalling, someone just called him. For instance, it's hard for him to leave the house, and he starts to delay the moment of leaving. It doesn't matter if it's a husband, a wife, or a friend, for example. We went on vacation with friends, and your friend finds it difficult to leave the house. Many of us have a fear of leaving the house. We delay this moment because it feels unsafe. Intuitively, we start coming up with various tasks, we begin to fuss around. And this is exactly what the person is doing. And I say to him, so are we going to the theater today or not? For example, this is arrogant contempt. Or I say, how much longer are you going to get ready? And it seems that I'm right. It seems that I have an agreement with this person. And indeed, we are running late for the theater. But it's this tone. When people get used to making demands of each other and asserting themselves at each other's expense, and we often do this either with those who are unprotected, for example, salespeople, waiters, service workers, with those closest to us. They are the most unprotected because service workers have to tolerate us, we pay them money, while loved ones have nowhere else to go. And most importantly, we know all the sensitive spots of those closest to us. We know how to sting, how to hurt, how to assert ourselves at their expense. You can always find a flaw in a person to use for your own self-assertion. Some people online are just there to boost their ego. They could be living in total mess, yet still feel entitled to look down on anyone. And it is this desire for self-assertion that creates conflict. People rarely try to find out what the real cause of their problems is. They are busy proving that they are right. If I am proving that I am right, then you must give up on yourself, abandon what you need, and accept my point of view. I remembered a song, I think, it was by some old band. There was a line like, doesn't matter who deals you're the beauty, I'm the fool. I get the ace, you still get the joker. In other words, it's always about this kind of righteousness. And this primal urge to assert oneself, to dominate it, practically turns everyone around us into enemies whom we merely tolerate. But simply tolerating is not a solution either. For example, I refuse to just tolerate that the scissors are missing. I go and ask another person, where are the scissors? And they reply, but you were the last one to use them to cut something. And then comes that moment of exposure when you realize it wasn't someone else, but you yourself who didn't put the scissors back in their place. It feels as if you've been punched in the gut. You've already worked yourself up, you've become enormous, you're ready to take the head off this wrong person. And it turns out that this wrong person is you. When we assert ourselves in this way, making a claim or complaint, the other person might respond, yes, yes, yes. It's like when you close the bathroom door where the cat's litter box is, and I have to keep opening it all the time. You forget to do that, and I forget to put the scissors back in their place. And if an argument starts, we open the doors to hell. If we make this complaint, we give the other person the internal right to do the same to us. Some people say, yes, I already speak calmly to my husband. I already control how I say it. But if you have been constantly nagging your partner before, then at any word you say, they will already react as if you are attacking them. You need to remain peaceful for a long time so that the person can rewire their reflexive responses. All right, let's imagine a scenario. I am truly speaking calmly. I am a psychoanalyst. I speak calmly. Do you happen to know where the scissors are? And the person responds to me, are you trying to say that it's my fault the scissors aren't where they're supposed to be? And if I am fully aware of my own aggression, my arrogance, if I understand these mechanisms where inside I am struggling with my own inner beast that wants to dominate, to blame, and so on, I am focused on myself. And when someone says to me, are you saying that I'm the one who didn't put them back? Then I can calmly reply, no, I'm just asking where they are. This is important. Pay attention to what is happening inside. Even when you are confronted with accusations, if you remain self-aware internally, these accusations will not affect you well. They may have some effect, but not as intensely. You will understand that this person is now defending themselves, that they are afraid of being wrong, afraid of being seen as bad. When we are accused of something, we also feel this sense of inadequacy and tend to sink emotionally. And by justifying ourselves or by blaming someone else, we try to resurface. We are constantly trying to restore our self-esteem. When the scissors can't be found, it's helpful to remember that you have done the same thing as well. In that moment, your sense of being right is so unshakable that it's as if you forget your own imperfections. It's an opportunity to feel absolutely right. But the scissors really are missing. And it's hard not to seize on that. It's difficult not to feed your inner beast this fresh meat, to let it taste fresh blood. It's difficult. But with the same pleasure, you will torment yourself as well. With the same fear, you will be afraid of making a mistake. So, you see, when we start to delve into these processes, it becomes clear that between speaking up or staying silent, answer is to speak up. But is what you are saying right now actually appropriate? And most importantly, how are you saying it? Is it with arrogance, with anger, or truly calmly? Do you genuinely want to find those scissors? Or is this just an excuse to assert yourself? Patience also does not give you anything. There are different kinds of patience. There is patience when I am processing my own emotions. And this is patience in restraining my own aggressiveness. And then there is vengeful patience, when a person remembers everything and later brings it all up. Just like in arguments. And you, back then, 5 years ago, and so on and so forth, it's like they've got a folder of dirt saved up. The moment you call them out, they open it and throw the same things back. It's not about being together. It's about proving they're right, about staying in control. Share your own experience. If you recalled how you argued, how emotions took over, and then so clearly later, it didn't need to happen at all. You know, after these arguments, our human side attacks us with a sense of guilt. We feel ashamed of this aggression, of this outburst. And then we start having endless internal dialogues, trying to convince ourselves that we truly had the right to be inhumane. But this shame, which allows us to remain human, still does not let us forget. And these internal dialogues can last for several days. We keep justifying ourselves and insisting, no, I definitely had the right to be angry at this wrong person. This takes an enormous amount of energy. All these arguments, scandals, self-assertion, anger, and so on and so on. There is nothing left for life itself. All our energy is constantly spent on this war inside our heads. So please write. You might not have noticed, but there's a posts tab on this channel. I'll be posting articles there. I'll also share parts of the book there. The link is in the description of this video. I have written 2 books, and I'm currently writing a third. The first one is available in English. As an ebook, it's called False Self, True Self, about the inner world of the personality. As the title suggests, it's about the inner world of the person. In it, I develop my own theory. I include real-life examples. In it, we will carefully examine each case in order to understand the structure of the psyche. Link to order in the description. I say goodbye to you until we meet again.